You're listening to the Bust-Proof Business Podcast, taking your business to the next level by taking you out of it. With our experience and proven results, we'll help you find the success that many crave, but only we can help you achieve. It's time to get started with your host, Greg Murphy.
Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the Bust-Proof Business Podcast, and today I'm going to go over the launch of our new 20,000 square foot brick and mortar bookstore and everything that went into that. And I think there's some great tips here for people that are interested in opening any kind of retail store, and even for people that are not, just to look at the marketing behind a local operation. I think will be interesting, even to people that don't do that. So we had a bookstore that we opened on June 2nd and 3rd. That was when we opened our bookstore. And it was 20,000 square feet. And we opened it with these cubby shelves that we had the shelves built ourselves, and they're about 15 or 16 inches long and 15 or 16 inches high. Each of the little shelves are a cubby. And those are the types of shelves we used. If you want to know, if you want to check it out, you can go to facebook.com/$1 book swap or facebook.com/Murphy's Used Books, and you can see pictures of the store. You can find all that stuff. But it was not all easy. There were a lot of things, and we're still going through some struggles. A lot of you guys know that I build my businesses with social media marketing. Everything that I do outside of Amazon is built by social media. And in fact, a lot of our Amazon businesses as well, when we look at acquiring books, we don't do it so much anymore because of the fact that we sell books, or we buy and sell books by the tractor trailer load. But social media is a big deal for building even your Amazon business, because of the fact that you can get books much cheaper if you build relationships. There's nothing faster and nothing easier in terms of building relationships than social media and Facebook advertising in particular for our market. And that's basically what we're going to go through, the whole marketing plan, exactly what we did and all the struggles that we've had up until now at the bookstore. So for those of you guys that don't know, we had the $1 book swap, which is part of our 60,000 square foot warehouse in Dayton, where we run our Amazon business out of. A guy from Raleigh, North Carolina had something called the $1 book exchange, and we spoke a few years ago, and that's how I got the idea to build the $1 book swap up in Dayton. And so we had, I think, close to 100,000 or so books. And at the $1 book swap, all the books were $1, and that was successful. We did very well with it. But what I've wanted to do for years and years is open a used bookstore. And so even though the $1 book swap was successful, as you guys know, it does take up a lot of time. If you've ever been to the book swap, some of you guys that listen have been here, you know it's pretty dusty, it's loud, the lighting isn't great. And so having a retail store was going to allow me to be open 7 days a week, build a big presence, integrate more with the community, sell more books, make more money, and do more good. So that's what we wanted to do. And, long story short, it's working out so far. But there have been some things that have been issues. Now, one of the things that's been a problem is that as you build a company based on social media and based upon buy-in from your local community, that can be a two-edged sword. And the reason why is that we wanted to push the $1 book swap back to be open once a month. And the reasoning behind that is that we just we didn't have the staff, or honestly, we didn't have the time to service the new store the way it needed to be serviced and keep the book swap open. We just couldn't do that, at least not at first. And so we decided that we were going to have it open once a month. And that was a decision that was lambasted by a very, very small percentage of our audience on our $1 book swap Facebook page, $1 book swap. That's our page where we do all of our advertising, and those are free. You should definitely have one. And we also have a Dollar Book Swap Facebook group, which is called Dollar Book Swappers or Dayton Book Swappers or something. I can't remember. But we have around 28,000 fans of the Dollar Book Swap Facebook page. We have around 3,700 or 3,800 people in the Facebook group. Basically, a Facebook group allows you to have more dialogue with your members, but it also allows you to promote, obviously, without it costing anything. And I find what we find is the reach of the Facebook group is much higher than the organic reach of a Facebook post on a page. So Facebook realizes that, hey, just because you liked a page, that doesn't have the same weight as joining a Facebook group. And especially the people that are interacting in the group are much, much, much more likely to actually see the posts that you make in the group. So if you do decide to, and this is sort of an aside, but if you do decide to start a Facebook group, you definitely want to make sure that you're creating these posts that get engagement from the group in order to keep the reach on the posts that you produce in those groups to be high. Because what will happen is if people are engaging with your posts, they're going to see it more. They're going to add their friends to the group. Things like that are going to be happening more and more and more. So yeah, big fan of Facebook groups. And what happened is that once we decided to move to once a month, I figured that there'd be some people that would be a little upset. But one of the issues is that people were not actually coming to the bookstore as much as they were before, the Dollar Book Swap, because Murphy's Used Books, as soon as it was announced, book sales at the Dollar Book Swap they dried up considerably to around half of the normal sales. And so my thought was that if we combine two things, which are scarcity, right? If we were only open once a month, it would allow us to, first off, make a better product, so have a better selection, have more books out there, make it nicer. It would also lower our expenses by not having to staff it every weekend. And I thought that the scarcity would basically, that revenues would remain relatively unchanged. And I'll give you guys an update because our next, as we're recording this, then the first once a month sale is going to be next weekend. So I'll do an update on this and let you guys know what ends up happening. But a few people were very upset. And so they were saying, lots of awful things. And people were very mean. People can be, I don't know if you guys know this, people can be really mean on the interwebs. People can be very, very hurtful because of the fact that it's not the same thing. People would never stare at me in the eye and say the kind of things that they would say. People don't act like this. People act way more human to people in the real life, in the meat space where we're all walking around. They act more normal there, and they act human to each other much more than they do on the internet, in the virtual world. So yeah, and so one of the things, and we were getting a lot of negative feedback from some of the people, which is fine. When you build a community and you ask for buy-in to what you're trying to do, when you set it up to where, hey, these guys are going to be part of this community, we want them to be interacting, we want them to take ownership and tell their friends about this cool new place that they found. Once they do that, they take ownership, they do what you ask, and then once you make a change, they feel way more invested than they would in a normal business. And that's the other edge of that two-edged sword. So now these people are upset, and they're going to definitely let you know about it, which is fine. It's better to be loved or hated than lukewarm, right? Because in lukewarm, people don't care, and they'll just move on. So we know that these guys are very passionate about it, and they're saying some really awful things. For those of you that aren't, obviously almost everybody is not local to the Dayton area. Where our warehouse is close, the nearest neighborhood is Old North Dayton. It's where I grew up, which is not a very rich part of the city. We grew up there, and there's this park called Patterson Park that, it doesn't exist in the same way it did before. But we would go in the summertime. A lot of poor kids like us would go, and they would get free lunches and stuff in the summer from Patterson Park. And you'd go, and then you'd go swimming, and then you'd go home before the lights went on at night. That kind of thing was what kids did back in the 80s and early 90s. That's what we did. And so I'm part of that community. That's where I grew up. Now, I don't live there now, but we do have our warehouse there. And so people talking about selling out, and we still have this massive warehouse employing bunches of local people. It kind of hurt a little bit. And so what I decided to do was I did a Facebook Live video in the Dollar Book Swap Facebook group. Now, you guys probably have seen, if you haven't yet, please go to facebook.com/busproofbookflipping. That's our Facebook group. And you'll see, you can join that and engage with the community. But I do a lot of Facebook Lives, but this one was going to be a little bit different. And so you can say a lot without actually using words. And in marketing, that's really important. And so what I did is I made a post at about 2 p.m. and I said, hey guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my daughter to bed at 8 o'clock, and then I'm going to do a Facebook Live at about 8:30, and I'm going to talk to you about all the changes that we're making at the Dollar Book Swap. And so you guys will put all the stuff to bed. I'll answer any questions that you guys have at 8:30 tonight. So I put my daughter to bed, and at about 8:30, I set up my phone, and I set it up to where I'm in front of my refrigerator, and on my because what I wanted to figure out was, how do I best communicate to these guys that I'm just a regular person, right? What's the best way to do that? Like to communicate without saying, hey, I'm a guy that has a daughter, and like I'm a person in your community, like I'm just a guy. So without saying that, right? Because that's not, things a lot of times, especially in marketing, what you show is way more important than what you say. So I looked around, and on my refrigerator, I had all of Sydney's artwork, my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter. I had all of her artwork on my refrigerator. And so I decided to stand in front of the refrigerator, which says, without me saying it, hey, look, this stuff behind me, I'm a real person in a real kitchen with a real refrigerator. I'm not some corporation. I'm just a guy. I'm doing the best I can. And so I open up the Facebook Live session by saying, hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the $1 Book Swap, or I can't remember what I said. And just so you know, I just put my daughter to bed. Here's her baby monitor. If you hear anything, I might have to cut it short and go check on my daughter. Which immediately said, hey guys, look, I'm a regular dude. I'm just like you. I'm dealing with kids and everything else. So hopefully as a way to sort of equalize everything. And in addition to that, just in a general marketing tip, what we're finding, especially for local businesses, as the owner of the company, having access to me, that really does, and that's what's created this buy-in. That's what's created this backlash. But it also is what creates lifelong customers. So we did that, and I answered everybody's questions. I told them all the reasoning behind everything that we did, like I've already told you guys. And a lot of it died down after that. Not everybody was happy. And as we continue to create posts on the Dollar Book Swap page talking about Murphy's, we still do get some comments from people that are upset. But it's going down. It's not nearly as harsh. And what we do is we link them to that video so they can see that. Now, if you would like, it obviously doesn't have much to do with what you guys are interested in. But if you go to facebook.com/group/Dollar Book Swappers or Dayton Book Swappers, if you just put Dollar Book Swappers in your Facebook search, you'll find our group. You can join, and obviously not to be super active in the community, but just so that you can see the way a Facebook group works for a local business, the way that we do it. As a lot of you guys are familiar with the way that Facebook group works for digital companies and things like that, because most of you guys are in the Facebook groups. But for brick and mortar retail, there's less engagement in the community. It's mostly me. They can create posts, but most of them don't. Most of them just respond to me. It's still mostly less of a conversation and more of me, sort of telling them what's going on. Which, that's just sort of the way these kind of things work for local businesses. But so that's one part of it. I also, before we move on to sort of the aftermath of the opening, and I also want to talk about the Facebook page, $1 Book Swap. Now, if you go to our Facebook page, what you'll see is a little gray mark a little gray check mark beside the name of our business. It means it's verified. And what we found is that being a verified page makes us show up better in search. It also, in my opinion, and I don't know if this is true, but what I found is that our paid ads get more reach by being verified, because Facebook knows that, hey, we're a real company, we're doing right by folks. And so I think it also allows us to sort of reach more people. With every dollar that we spend, we find our reach goes up a little bit. And what Facebook would not let me do is change the dollar book swap to Murphy's Used Books. I had to create a brand new page, which I'm still working on, and hopefully they'll let me combine the two. But for now, at least, they're not having it. Because, I think maybe because it has so many fans, the 28,000, maybe the number's just too big for them to just let us merge them or whatever. But we'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, and so those are the two of the resources that we had to market, the group and the page. And what we ended up doing is we had our Facebook ads on the page. We did, and I'll read you the text, but you can also find it at the dollar book swap in it. The grand opening of Murphy's Used Books is this Friday, June 2nd at 10 a.m. I talked about how we had 20,000 square foot of bookstore with 200,000 books hopefully for sale. And then I talked a little bit about we had a grand opening event. So for Friday and Saturday, we had some pop-up carnival games, some for the kids, free popcorn. Nothing big, but I added about 30 pictures or so of the store as it was coming together. And I spent $1,500 on advertising. We ended up reaching 270,000 people. And we got 3,600 likes and 2,200 shares and 445 comments. Obviously, that is abnormal for us in a big, big way. But it was a grand opening event, and people were really excited about it. And so we really got the word out to lots and lots of people by doing that. So, 270,000 people saw our ads and for $1,500, which was amazing. And we did well. We did well in 5 figures our first weekend by a considerable amount. So it was a success. And then the sales obviously dropped during the week after that and all that stuff. But it was really interesting, and it was a great scenario, and we're going to continue to do that. And so in order to continue to engage in the community for Murphy's Used Books, what we're going to do is we have a community room in the front of the building. And last Friday, I read, or a couple Fridays ago, I read to the kids. And so what we did is we did a little Facebook event, and I said, hey guys, I'm going to read to kids, and we're going to be water and maybe a little pack of cookies and snacks and things like that for the kids. And ended up about 40 people showed up. And they also ended up spending a good chunk of change after they were there. So community programming is another thing that's going to be big for the bookstore. We did that with the dollar book swap as well, but it wasn't nearly as, it didn't work super as well because it wasn't a warehouse. There wasn't climate control too great, and we didn't have that type of space for the community to come in. And we're really excited that's going to be the case now. And I think that's going to allow us to work a little bit better in the community by having that designated space. We're going to try to have hopefully adult literacy stuff. We're going to hopefully have more reading to kids, crafts and things, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be a fixture in the Kettering community and the greater Dayton area as a whole, because we want to be a community. We want to be community minded. And you guys, if you haven't listened yet to the podcast that I did with Erica Harney, where we talked about social responsibility and the ROI of that for a business. It is the best market. Even your motives don't even matter, to be honest with you. You sleep at night however you want to. But in terms of how the impact you have on the community by doing good can be amazing. But even a bigger impact on your bottom line can be when you do good things in the community, when you act like a good dude in your community, people see that. It does not take much, because your competitors in your local area they're not doing much in the community almost all the time. And if they are, they don't have the social media presence that we recommend to you guys for people to know that. It's not about bragging, but it's about saying, hey, this is happening this weekend, come check it out. Or here's how we want to help, and spending money advertising to people. And you can spend as little as $5 a day to get the word out. And $5 a day will reach at least 500 people in your local community. Obviously, our ad budgets now are significantly higher than that. I think we're spending around $150 every single day in Facebook ads to Murphy's, and we're seeing an immediate increase, 2x, 2 to 3x every day in sales when we're running ads versus when we're not. And that only shows the immediate return. That doesn't show you all the increases in like the word of mouth that happens, where people might not be able to show up the next day, but they might be able to tag a friend or talk about it to friends and let people know what's going on. One more thing I wanted to mention before we get off here. An email list is very important, and it's something that we used for Murphy's in a big way. So we would send emails out to people that said, hey, this is going on. A big thing is you want to have a call to action at the end of your email. It doesn't have to be buy my thing. It doesn't have to be that at all, because that's not always the purpose of the email, is to get them. It's just to say, a lot of times our email campaigns are about, hey, remember that we exist. Come out and hang out with us. Come check us out. So a lot of times I'll send emails. I'll send 2 or 3 emails a week to my list. And people read them. You always should probably email more than you think you're comfortable with. But because people that want to hear from you will read them. People that don't will unsubscribe, and that's perfectly fine. We want to create a small group of raving fans and clients and people that want to interact with us. And so what happens is we send these emails, and most of them are just, hey, this is what's going on. I want your ideas about this particular topic. How should we move on getting more people involved here to do community programming? What kind of people should we be talking to? Please click reply and let me know. And we get dozens and dozens of people will respond. And these people are engaging. And even those that don't for this particular email, they might do that the next time. So, it's an amazing thing. Having a local business, especially having a business that has my name on it, a local business with a sign. I mean, it's been something I've wanted for a really long time. And now I have that, and it's going well. And I'd love to sit here and talk to you guys about this for hours, but obviously, I don't want to just repeat myself. If you have any questions, you can send me an email, greg@busproofbusiness.com, and you can check out our latest training event at busproofworkshop.com. And next week, we're going to be talking to Dan Metters. I just recorded an interview with him, and from the Wholesale Formula. He's a really great guy. Man, I can't believe the stuff that he's doing. So thank you guys super, super lots. If you have any questions, again, let me know. And remember, make today count.
That's all for this episode of the Busproof Business Podcast. Be sure to point your browser to busproofworkshop.com to sign up for our mailing list and to get your opportunity to enroll in one of our specialized seminars, guaranteeing you continued results in typical Busproof fashion. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to taking your business to the next level right here on the Busproof Business Podcast.